designed in such a way that we will first share the experience of a pilot project that was implemented in South Africa. In recent months, it came to an end, but that's part of a global initiative that the European Commission and United Nations Environment have established. And Mr. Lee Router will tell you more about it. So in that provides a context of one of the first steps formally given in the country. Although you should know that the OECD made an eco-innovation policy review in 2010, 11, 12, can't remember. Yesterday we had Dr. Inga, can't remember her last name, but she was one of the co-authors at the CSIR. They are in the group of water here in Pretoria, so I can make the connection there sometime. She's not here today, unfortunately, but there has been some work on eco-innovation. We're not going to talk about all the things that have happened in South Africa, like the clean tech program, because what you will realize today is that this is a field in the making. This is a field that we refer to it in many different ways with different connotations, and that has to do with the background and the field where this topic is being dealt with. So there has been a clean tech program here. It is being managed by the Innovation Agency in collaboration with UNIDO. And there are other elements that I will try to share with you about why this is important. Well, we're gonna share with you a bit of the theory behind it, and some of the many limitations and work in progress that we are facing. Then we're gonna show you something about the business case for eco-innovation, so why this is important for business, and some of the tools that are available, depending what your role is in the innovation process, and that's something that even in Europe is not properly understood. Because sometimes we think of eco-innovation as technology transfer, sometimes think of eco-innovation as mostly about making manufacturing process more efficient. And all of it is true, because it depends on your role in the production consumption system, and it depends on your role in the innovation process. If you are a water technology company and your business is to develop wastewater treatment plants, well, you're in a different in a different stage of the innovation process compared if you are a textile company, or if you work from the government, or if you work in an intermediation entity like the NCPC, or if you work in an applied research institute, or in a basic research institute, or in a university. So this complexity makes the topic of eco-innovation quite pragmatic, embedded into practice, informed by many different disciplines, and where policy practice, which is the last topic that we're going to refer to, becomes important, relevant, but sometimes it's difficult to distinguish what are the important rationales and what are the important action areas, because in the end we tend to think that eco-innovation, it's a goal in its end, and sometimes it is a mean for achieving something. And the truth is that it depends where you are. So I know some of our audience here will not be very active, but in the sense that you may not have lots of questions, but I'm going to try to force you to from your own perspective, to try to engage and try to make useful, to make a very useful day. It is very likely that given the audience, we may have a shortened let's say lectures, and we will facilitate more discussion, because I think that's more useful. Having said that, if at any time you have some pressing questions, some comments, and you don't want to forget them, we have a board there. So just don't mind whoever is speaking, just go grab the marker and write your questions, your comments, so we don't forget. And the last thing is that it's a very practical issue. We have designed a paper-free, disposable plastic bottle-free event. So we have been here for 3 days. Unfortunately, you did not arrive on Wednesday, where we gave everybody cradle-to-cradle bottle. That is, I'm not making a promotion of it, but it's that's how people have been drinking water but you have glasses there. We have dispensers over there. We're going to have a joint lunch with the other session, which is a PhD, an early researchers academy. It's actually quite busy. It was the opposite. Here we had a long list. You were handpicked. Over there, we didn't know what was going to happen, and we have a full house over there. So we're going to have lunch with them, and there are most of them really young scholars who are actually contributing, well, not only to economation, to many, many different topics, and they're the future researchers. Because of that, we believe that in this network, I'm going to show you first what this network is about very briefly. Everybody can become part of it or can interact with it. So, so for you, those practical questions, and there is no plastic bottles because of that reason. Food, coffee, we can always have other coffee breaks, bring coffee, continue. And if you have questions, just please. This is not a lecture. This is more of an interaction, and we also want to learn a lot from you, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Because this is a global. We completely agree. This is the global dimension of knowledge, the global dimension of sustainability challenges. Yes, we are embedded into the economic system, so it has to somehow keep running. But yes, this public good situation that we are facing makes this type of topics and tools relevant. So, with that in mind, I'm going to present briefly one slide only, just to tell you the context of how and why we're here. Basically, I was telling you a moment ago that, well, we've been here for already 2 days. This is the third day of activities. And we basically we've been given the task to create this network because the problems that you face here in South Africa, the challenges, the issues, the knowledge you're creating, can be useful for other parts of the world and vice versa. So we all think that that our local situation, our local context is actually unique, but in reality we are facing similar challenges in Mexico, in Mauritius Island, obviously different challenges. So we depart from the assumption that innovation can help, can be an enabler, technology can also be a problem. We recently finished a project, Eminem project, where we analyzed the environmental impact at the macro level of what we thought they were green technologies. Some of them, they really are under certain conditions, and some others, it depends, because they create something that is called a rebound effect. So short-term benefits, mid and long-term potential harms because of the impact on the economic system. So there are many ways of innovation. There are many aims at national level or regional level. We want a green, low carbon, inclusive economy. And then, but in the end, we really all aiming at, we have agreed, that's why we created, or we all countries agreed to the Sustainable Development Goals. South Africa is quite relevant in this context because it all started here. The policy process around sustainability started here. Well, there was the Rio conference, of course, but it was really Johannesburg that was that breaking point in time, and we have a lot to learn from many things that you may not realize, but you are ahead of the curve in sustainability. Yes? Yeah. Yeah, 1992 Rio, of course, the first time that we talked about sustainable development, but 2002 in Johannesburg, you go back to the documents, you've talked to people, and sometimes around the world we don't realize the importance that conference has for positioning these topics of innovation and these topics of resources, these topics of climate, because Rio was important. Rio plus 10 was really important as well, of course. But Johannesburg was, in my opinion, it was quite of a breaking point in this policy process. So we have the mission to create a network of networks which are somehow dedicated or related to innovation for sustainable development, because there is a fragmentation everywhere. I mean, in terms of knowledge, that's what I was explaining before. So reducing fragmentation, and we want to support collaboration. Obviously, this has in itself, it's a real challenge, but we hope that by engaging policymakers, businesses, the academic and scientific community, we actually are contributing towards, this co-creation of solutions and identification of best practices, and 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 hopefully contributing to sustainable development goals. So this is not something I'm going to focus on, but basically this network, well, it is an initiative from South Africa already. Stellenbosch University is one of the partners in the project. This is created from a Horizon 2020 project. So one of the objectives of the project is to create this network. There is a website, and there are some services, in the sense that we are all, if you realize when you said, well, we have just developed a tool for making technology available to others. Well, that's really relevant, for not because we have to know it all, because that can be really valid not only for South Africans. So we are creating a global database of eco-innovation or innovation or circular innovation, or however you want to call it. And we are doing this capacity building, we are doing symposiums and network events. So what happened here in South Africa, it's just one of the many activities. So we are aiming with this program and with this network to connect, to make the knowledge available to others, and to provide guidance, mostly for policymakers, but obviously because there is an imperative of helping business. This is really also one of the targets. Just to tell you that we are a number of institutions, mostly academic and research based, that we have been working in the topic of eco-innovation, green economy, sustainability transitions, sustainability in general, energy, sustainable energy, for a number of years. Professor Kemp he's really modest, and he probably doesn't like me saying really always good things, but he is one of the coiners of the term, one of the first persons who supported the European Commission together with others, and creating this critical mass that we have today. So institutions like UN Merit or CTW in Europe, we've been working on this topic from different angles for a number of years. So if there is anything we can do to share this knowledge, and to at the same time to learn from you, and to keep on building this virtuous process of creating solutions for sustainability, that's what this consortium is. It's passionate about this topic, and is dedicated for measurement. You will also be really happy to learn that the lecture of Professor Kemp focuses on measuring. And again, it's a Community Innovation Survey. You may be familiar with that. Well, it was Professor Kemp and colleagues that started that module of measuring eco-innovation in national surveys. So what I'm trying to tell you is that by no means this is that we know it all, but we are a group of scholars, scientists, institutions, that we are here to exchange knowledge, to learn from you, and to contribute towards identifying useful solutions, knowledge. With that, I'm going to stop, because it's not the purpose of today's session. It's just I'm taking the time because most of you, besides the organizers or the consortium members, the 3 or 4 of you, you were not here during the past 2 days. So just give a bit of context what we're doing here. This is not because UN is telling us to do it, or because the European Commission is explicitly telling us to do it, or the South African government. No. They're all interested in promoting these topics. We have been lucky enough to win this Horizon 2020 funding, and this is part of the activities we're doing. You could be part of it if you want to. CSIR, the Department of Science and Technology, think tanks and research councils, and you can be as active as you want. There is a very simple accession process, and then what we offer is really tools, the knowledge, the guidelines, and that is there for you to use. So and then this is the organization that I have in here this week. So as you can tell, it's actually quite a variety of actors. It might not mean much in terms of well, why they came here. Well, there was a very nice program organized around 2 days. But what I was telling you is that everybody can join, in the sense that if this is useful for you, if you think you can benefit from the knowledge, if you think you can provide and share best practices and experiences, I'm sure there is a possibility. So just for you to keep in mind. And this workshop is just one of the many services and activities that we are doing. The National Clinic Production Center of South Africa and the Global Network of Resource Efficiency and Clinic Production Centers are part of this network already. And because of that, we have this opportunity to be here today. So this is a bit the context.